The Atomic Architect, Dr. Abdul Qadeer Khan and Pakistan's nuclear journey. A scientific genius or an international pariah? A hero in his homeland, but a figure of deep concern on the global stage. Meet Dr. Abdul Qadeer Khan, the man who put Pakistan on the nuclear map, and in doing so, defied the world order. We will take you on a whirlwind journey through secret labs, political chess games, and ethical quandaries. We'll examine how one man's choices have forever changed the geopolitics of a region and the world's approach to nuclear non-proliferation. Prepare yourself for a gripping tale that challenges easy answers. This is a story you don't want to miss. Chapter 1, The Genesis, From Humble Beginnings to Scientific Genius. In an era marked by geopolitical tensions and the promise and peril of nuclear technology, one man's life becomes a pivot around which history turns, Dr. Abdul Qadeer Khan. Born in 1936 in Bhopal, in what was then British India, Khan rose from humble origins to become the linchpin of Pakistan's nuclear program. Growing up as the youngest in a family of 7 in a home that prized education, his curiosity and intellectual aspirations were evident from a young age. The partition of India in 1947, leading to the creation of Pakistan, forever imprinted on his consciousness and fueled his sense of patriotic duty. Khan ventured to Europe for higher education, focused on metallurgical engineering. Europe in the 1970s was an incubator for scientific innovation. Khan found himself deeply embedded in this landscape, first in Belgium for academic pursuits and later at Urenco in the Netherlands, a front-runner in uranium enrichment technology. Here, the scientist in metallurgy could delve into the intricate worlds of nuclear fuel cycles and uranium enrichment. As Khan gained invaluable insights into technology that had global strategic implications, he was confronted with an ethical conundrum: should he keep this knowledge confined to Urenco, or use it to serve Pakistan's aspirations for security and global standing? Chapter 2, The Homecoming. In 1974, a seismic event shook the geopolitics of South Asia. India conducted its first nuclear tests, giving birth to tensions that would ripple through the region for decades. For Pakistan, this was a strategic nightmare, setting off alarm bells in the highest echelons of power. It was clear that the security landscape had fundamentally changed, and something had to be done. At the helm in Islamabad was Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, a man with a vision for a stronger, more secure Pakistan. In the wake of India's tests, Bhutto's interest in developing a homegrown nuclear program transformed from aspiration to urgent necessity. He knew that for Pakistan to maintain a semblance of strategic balance in the region, it had to look beyond conventional capabilities. Nuclear parity became a question of survival. Halfway across the world, Khan watched these developments unfold with a mixture of concern and patriotism. Armed with specialized knowledge and a newfound sense of purpose, he faced a momentous decision. Could he watch from the sidelines while his country grappled with existential threats, or would he become an active participant in shaping its destiny? And so, in late 1975, Khan made the irreversible choice to return to Pakistan. His journey back was not just a homecoming but a pivot, a move toward a future fraught with risks, but also laden with possibilities. Upon his return, one of his first stops was a meeting with Prime Minister Bhutto. The synergy between them was immediate. Two ambitious men found common ground in a mission larger than themselves: to secure Pakistan's place on the world stage, no matter the cost. As Khan stepped out of that seminal meeting, there was no turning back. He was now more than a scientist, he was a man with a nation's hopes riding on his shoulders. And so, the stage was set for one of the most audacious technological endeavors in Pakistan's history. Chapter 3, Forging the Atom, Khan's Odyssey from 1976 to 1998. As Abdul Qadeer Khan settled back into Pakistan in 1976, it was clear he had returned for a monumental task. The establishment of Khan Research Laboratories, KRL, in that year was a pivotal moment, a manifestation of the state's covert ambitions to develop a nuclear arsenal. Named in Khan's honor, KRL would be the secret crucible where Pakistan's nuclear aspirations would be tested. In the political corridors, Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto had been the early architect, pioneering the vision for a Muslim atomic bomb. His fateful meeting with Khan had set the stage, but the subsequent military coup by General Muhammad Zia would become another defining chapter. While Zia was primarily consumed by the Afghan conflict and internal governance, he recognized the importance of the nuclear program and provided the necessary clandestine support. The intricate road to uranium and global chessboard. As 1976 rolled around, the first monumental task was securing a sufficient supply of the vital ingredient for Pakistan's nuclear ambitions, uranium. Geological surveys had pointed to the potential presence of uranium in Pakistan's mountainous regions, particularly in the Punjab province and the Sulayman Range. The government discreetly launched a uranium exploration and mining operation in these regions around 1978, carefully veiling it as a generic mining initiative. Not only did this serve the nuclear program, but it also provided a smokescreen against international scrutiny. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Khan focused on technology acquisition. Recognizing the limitations of Pakistan's domestic industry, he reached out to a complex web of international contacts he had cultivated during his time in Europe. Using shell companies, coded language, and intermediaries, Khan orchestrated transactions to acquire critical dual-use technologies with both civilian and military applications, from companies in Germany, the Netherlands, and other Western nations. While public opinion in these countries was largely oblivious to these machinations, intelligence agencies were not. Khan and his network became a focus for Western intelligence as early as 1979. Despite being on multiple watch lists, Khan managed to exploit legal gray zones and jurisdictional gaps, effectively circumventing export controls. His methods were so clandestine that often even the companies involved were unaware they were contributing to a nuclear program. One of the key moments came between 1980 and 1981, when Khan successfully secured a series of high-speed centrifuges through a European front company. These machines were crucial for the uranium enrichment process, making it a high-stakes acquisition. Getting them to Pakistan was a logistical feat involving covert shipping routes, falsified customs declarations, and a fair amount of calculated risk. Additionally, Khan had to navigate tricky international alliances. Around 1982, there were whispers about a possible collaborative effort between Pakistan and China, in what was suspected to be a tacit agreement of nuclear technology sharing. Western intelligence agencies, notably the CIA, began to pick up on these ties, but concrete evidence remained elusive, giving Pakistan and China plausible deniability. And let's not forget the political tightrope at home. Leaders like General Zia had to weigh the political costs of their support for the nuclear program. The U.S., under President Reagan, had initiated a policy of engagement with Pakistan, mainly due to its strategic importance following the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. This alliance came with financial and military aid but also with strings attached. Several times throughout the 1980s, Congress debated imposing sanctions on Pakistan under the Symington and Pressler amendments, which targeted countries developing nuclear weapons. Each time, the Reagan and subsequent administrations found ways to issue waivers, allowing Pakistan some leeway to continue its nuclear activities. Through all these complexities, Khan remained resolute. He had managed to create a labyrinth of connections, transactions, and cover-ups so intricate that even when pieces were uncovered, the full puzzle could never be completely seen by outsiders. By the mid-1980s, it was clear, Pakistan had effectively become a nuclear threshold state, capable of assembling a weapon on relatively short notice. All that remained was to perfect the design and, when the time was right, to demonstrate to the world the might it had silently, stealthily amassed. Several countries and leaders inadvertently or indirectly played a role in Pakistan's nuclear journey. China, a close ally, is believed to have provided critical assistance, sharing expertise and possibly even blueprints for older tested designs. The United States, grappling with the Soviet Union in the Cold War, saw Pakistan as a strategic ally, particularly after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. American leaders like Ronald Reagan were caught in a policy paradox. While publicly condemning Pakistan's nuclear ambitions, they were hesitant to abandon a crucial partner against communism. The nuclear program wasn't a one-man show, it was a complex ballet involving politicians, military leaders, scientists, and international power players. Alongside Khan were key figures like Dr. Samar Mubarak Mand, who would later play a crucial role in the actual tests. General Khalid Mahmoud Arif, Vice Chief of Army Staff under Zia, was another vital piece in the puzzle, coordinating between the civilian scientific community and the military establishment. The Cold Tests, 1983. By 1983, the program reached its first significant milestone with the successful Cold Tests, nuclear tests that stopped short of an actual detonation but validated the design and mechanics of the bomb. This achievement was kept a closely guarded secret, but for Khan and his team, it was the proof of concept they had been striving for. They had demonstrated that Pakistan had the knowledge and the technical capability to make a nuclear device. In the 15 years that followed, Khan and his team worked tirelessly, improving their designs, miniaturizing components, and relentlessly striving for a weapon that could be readily deployed. The entire operation was shrouded in layers of secrecy, disinformation, and complex international maneuvering. Through the daunting challenges, international sanctions, and intense global scrutiny, Khan remained the steadfast captain of this secretive journey. He navigated the turbulent waters of geopolitics, internal pressures, and technological barriers with a singular vision: to equip Pakistan with the ultimate tool of deterrence and sovereignty, a nuclear bomb. And so, as the years rolled on, Khan's vision became increasingly tangible. The scientists at KRL, under the watchful eyes of international authorities and the weight of a nation's hopes, moved ever closer to transforming theory into terrifying, awe-inspiring reality. Chapter 4: The Moment of Truth, the Tests. In May 1998, the tectonic plates of global politics shifted with alarming speed. India's nuclear tests rattled the international community and presented an immediate challenge to its neighbor, Pakistan. The debate within the corridors of power in Islamabad was intense. Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif found himself in the hot seat, and the pressure was not just internal. American President Bill Clinton made direct phone calls to Sharif, urging restraint and warning of the economic and diplomatic fallout that would accompany a nuclear test. Yet, the Advisory Board on Security Matters, including General Jahangir Karamat, argued that inaction would leave Pakistan in a strategically vulnerable position. Abdul Qadeer Khan, now a luminary figure in nuclear science, was also consulted. Khan, who had worked painstakingly for over 2 decades, was more than a scientist, he was the embodiment of Pakistan's nuclear ambition. He urged the government to proceed, arguing that Pakistan needed to establish its nuclear deterrent to counterbalance India. Failure to do so would be tantamount to accepting perpetual subordination, he is documented to have said in high-level meetings. The decision was agonizing, with Sharif weighing the immediate backlash against the long-term strategic gains. Finally, he gave the nod, allowing Khan and his team to proceed with the nuclear tests. In a clandestine operation, preparations began at the Shagai Hills under the watchful eyes of Khan and Dr. Samar Mubarak Mand. Engineers, scientists, and military personnel were helicoptered in, and testing equipment was transported under the guise of a regular military exercise. On May 28, 1998, seismic stations around the world picked up an unusual activity originating from the Shagai Hills in Pakistan. The nation had conducted its first set of nuclear tests, codenamed Shagayat. Minutes later, Khan was on the phone with Sharif, confirming the test success. Internationally, the reaction was swift and severe. Economic sanctions from various nations and global institutions like the IMF and World Bank were imposed almost immediately. Yet Pakistan was resolute. On May 30th, a second set of tests, Shagai II, were carried out. This was a clear message: Pakistan was now a nuclear state, and it was willing to bear the costs. Inside Pakistan, the mood was electric. People poured into the streets, lighting fireworks and chanting patriotic slogans. The nation felt it had reclaimed its dignity and secured its future. But the international atmosphere was increasingly frosty. Meetings at the UN Security Council were convened, and countries like Japan and the United States implemented sanctions that would cripple Pakistan's economy for years to come. Abdul Qadeer Khan stood at the center of this whirlpool of triumph, controversy, and international tumult. His life's work had reached its zenith, and Pakistan had been forever changed. His actions, along with those of Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and key military figures, had irrevocably altered the dynamics of South Asian geopolitics and beyond. While the world grappled with the implications, within Pakistan, the sentiment was clear: the nation had achieved a new standing in the global order, even as it braced for the consequences of its momentous decisions. Chapter 5: The Aftermath. As Pakistan stepped into the new millennium, Abdul Qadeer Khan found himself moving from the status of a national hero to the eye of a storm of controversies that would question the ethics and implications of his life's work. The year 2004 was a particularly tumultuous one for Khan. Implicated in transferring sensitive nuclear technology to other nations, he faced mounting international pressure and insurmountable evidence against him. In a surprising turn of events, Khan publicly confessed to these charges on national television. Almost as startling as his admission was his immediate pardon by President Pervez Musharraf. Following his confession, Khan lived in what could best be described as de facto house arrest. This was a significant shift for a man who had once been the recipient of Pakistan's highest civil honors and accolades. Restricted in his movements and monitored in his communications, Khan remained in this state until 2009, when he was finally released. His release sparked as much debate as his house arrest, raising questions both in Pakistan and internationally about the actual extent and implications of his activities. But Khan's actions had repercussions beyond the borders of Pakistan. They rippled through the geopolitical landscape, touching hotspots like North Korea and Iran. Khan's clandestine network was believed to have assisted in North Korea's nuclear program, and whispers about his connections with Iran kept surfacing. These global dimensions added complex layers to an already complicated narrative, casting him not just as a national figure but also as a significant player on the world stage. For some, his activities represented a dangerous proliferation that jeopardized global security. For others, he was seen as a figure caught up in the larger dynamics of international politics and national security concerns. Abdul Qadeer Khan remains a deeply polarizing figure, one whose actions have left an indelible impact not just on the annals of Pakistan's history but on the broader global narrative concerning nuclear proliferation and security. Whether considered a hero who provided Pakistan with the ultimate security blanket, or a symbol of unchecked ambitions and ethical compromises, his legacy is one that will continue to be dissected and discussed for years to come.